Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Here.
Commissioner Corral? Here. Commissioner Hewitt?
Here.
Vice Chair, Chair Smith?
Here.
And Commissioner Romero?
Present.
We have 2 absent, Scott, Sean Sterling, and Yoli Say, and 5 present.
This time is open for oral communication. If anyone in the audience would like to come up and talk to the commission about something that's not on the agenda tonight, now is your time. Nobody wants to speak? So consent calendar. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes from September 17th?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for September 7th.
Second.
Call for vote? Are we using this?
Chair Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chair Kennedy?
Abstain.
Commissioner Corral? Yes. Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Commissioner Romero?
Abstain.
So we'll bring that back next month. We do not have a quorum.
We have no general business, so moving on right up to public hearing. Want to start with the first item?
Thank you, Chair. The first item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing for consideration of a site plan, initial study mitigated negative declaration, and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the South Beach Restoration and Shoreline Access Enhancement Project. Bob Greenlaw, our CIP director, is here to give you an overview of the project scope. So I will go ahead and let him give his presentation, and then after that's concluded, I will give you the rest of the staff report in terms of the findings and the recommended action.
Good evening, Commissioners. You got introduced to what we're trying to do tonight, so I'll skip that. So the background, first I want to provide some background for some context here. So historically, South Beach was a broad crescent sandy beach. Over the years, concrete, steel, and wooden groins, those are the walls that are out in the water, were installed to abate beach erosion and separate the Avalon Canyon channel, which outflows into the harbor from the sandy beach. As many as 4 groins were historically on this beach at one time. Today, there's a remnant of only 1 concrete groin left there. And for this part, it's not, for the most part, it's non-effective.
37?
So in 2017, the city engaged Michael Baker Engineering to study why the erosion was occurring. The study concluded that the larger jet boats, coupled with high wave energy, was responsible for the erosion of the beach and the movement of the sand into the harbor, mainly by the pier. Both of these forces had to occur at the same time for the movement. Otherwise, the sand grains are too large to be moved out. So it's not just the jet boats themselves. And until 2023, the project sat dormant due to lack of funding, and then we had COVID. So the city had applied for grant funding during those times for 3 times, and now we're applying for the 4th grant opportunity in an attempt to fund this with funds that are in addition to the Harbor Fund. So in 2023, we took action to fund with local harbor funds, and that's funded by the wharfage, that increase in wharfage that we have for capital projects. That's what's funding the engineering, environmental, and the permits. And we finished the biological studies. We revised the sediment model that we did in 2017 to freshen that up and to derive at some new conclusions from some observations that we did from 2017 to 2023. And the plans are 95% complete, and we'll put that last 5% when the permits are in hand. And we're in the middle stage of the environmental permit process. So the permits have been applied for, but we need the mitigated neg deck to finish that off, and then for the resource agencies to complete their work. One interesting finding that was realized during the design process was that an additional force was active in the beach erosion. And that's the everyday wave reflection on the angled wall on that southeastern side there, right where the channel is. And so wave action comes into the harbor, hits that wall that's on the angle, then reflects off and goes parallel to the beach and just continually, slowly moving the sand inch by inch. So that's an additional force that's happening besides the wave erosion with the jet boats. So what you see up on the screen right now is the existing conditions. South Beach to the right of the green pier. You can see if you look out on the water there that, Middle Beach to the left of the green pier has plenty of sand on it. Whereas South Beach, it's eroded away, and it's moved essentially out by Joe's Rent-A-Boat, where Joe's Rent-A-Boat is, and then it's also additionally moved over to Middle Beach. South Beach goes up to where the ramp is, where the historic boat ramp is there now. It's not being utilized, because we've built the crane, but also there's, a 4-foot drop-off from the boat ramp, so you couldn't, even if you wanted to launch a boat or even a kayak, it's too steep there. So that's why we've put, the guardrail around there so nobody would get injured. To the right of that is known as either Muscle Beach, Palapa Beach, a couple local names for that beach. That white line that goes right along the revetment there, that's our saltwater intake for the town. That's where the saltwater comes into our pump station, which is right there in the elbow right there, right where the ATM is. There's those 2 steel doors. That's the saltwater pump station. And you see the little remnant of the groin there. It's probably 6 to 8 feet left of it, and it's probably 8 feet high, and that's right next to the boat ramp. So on this slide, this is what we're proposing. We're going to replace the groin wall with a 100-foot wall. So that's that green angled element out into the harbor there. And the reason that we've selected 100 feet was, once we modeled it again, we realized that 100 feet on that angle, what it does is it makes a closed loop. So as the current comes in, that current that I was talking about with that southeast wave, what it does is it hits the groin wall, then it reflects back off the groin wall and completes a loop back into the pier. And what it does is whatever energy that's trying to erode the beach actually goes and deposits sand right at the beach. So this is like the perfect harmonious location and angle for that beach sand to stay there. So there's some science involved here, and also the grain size was selected so that it interacted with what was existing there, because if you don't do that, then it's not going to stay there. So it needs to be big enough so it stays there, but it also has to be so it'll move in and out with the waves, okay? So that was all part of that study. Replace the seawall, so that's the area in the green, the area in the middle lower, and there's the green area that says it's a staging area, and there's a fat red line there. There's about 80 feet of seawall that was damaged by storm damage and the erosion of the beach, and it collapsed for the most part. So we'll be replacing that. We'll restore the launch ramp that's right adjacent to that groin wall there, so that it'll have a new surface. And the intent of that was to have recreational water access, so kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, as such, would be able to be right there. And then 4, that rectangular box that's in the middle of that green area, that would be a new stairway. But that stairway will be built on the land side, so we'll go into the beach. We'll remove that other stairway that's down there that continually gets damaged because it has a wood handrail, guardrail. The steps get eroded away. So considering sea level rise and the wave action that's coming through some of these bigger storms, we're going to have that stairway now on the land side of the beach and protected, and there'd be just a notch out to get to the beach. And then we'll replace the beach sand. So that's that area within that red box out there, and that's in the range of 6,000 cubic yards. And that would be imported from the mainland, and it would be, like I said, the right size, and it would be tested so that it would be clean sand. So the construction duration is anticipated to be in the range of 4 to 6 months. The project location is highly sensitive to visitor season. So the best time to start is in October with a completion in May, if we have our choice. A large crane would be required for seawall and the groin work, as this will be driven precast concrete sheet pile, which is 18 foot long. The beach will be closed during the project for safety and construction operation work zone. And then this slide here depicts the potential path of beach sand delivery. We have two alternatives. One, it would come on a barge and go directly to the beach, be dropped on the beach in the South Beach location, and then equipment that could work in the tidal zone could now spread the sand. That's our preferred alternative. And it really depends on pricing and then hitting the right with the visitor season. Another alternative is going over to the freight lines, bringing the trucks in just like we do on every other project, and then we do a sand haul. That's a lot of truck traffic on our roads and disruption, so we'd rather bring it in on the barge. Okay, this slide here shows a cross-section of the beach sand replacement. So you can see there's different thicknesses that we'll do in different areas of the beach. This is a slide showing an elevation view of the seawall that we're going to replace, that 80 feet of seawall. And you can see in the background there where we have the stairway and there's a little notch to get out there. So you can see that the steps will be protected from the ocean. And to be able to keep that clean and to keep the access clean, you're only going to have to clean that bottom area with sand if the sand gets that high. But otherwise, for the most part, storms hit, it's all going to be all concrete. It's going to be concrete sheet pile on surrounding it and a concrete stairway coming down. Okay, so we see a good, long, useful life to this and low maintenance. And so that's why we made this selection. This is that stairway, and it shows from the beach side. So down at the bottom is this, below where it says stairway top view, that would be the water. And then you have the concrete, sheet pile wall. Then you have the stairway, and around the stairway is sheet pile also. So it's all encased in there. This slide shows a elevation view of the groin wall. And if I'm standing in the Avalon Channel outlet and looking back toward the pier, you can see that the seawall would be on my left, and you can see the sheet pile that's 18 feet being driven down, and then it provides a level surface. And that level surface is important because of this. So you can see on the top of the sheet pile, we're going to put a concrete cap that finishes this all off. Because when you drive them, they get varying height, and then we got to cut them. It's a little bit rough. This makes a nice smooth finish. This one shows a 2-foot width. We also have an alternative for a 4-foot width, and that 4-foot width can have guardrails down the side, 100 feet out, and then at the end of it, it could have a ramp that connects to a float that would be almost approximately out to the area where the swim line is. And now you can have a recreation float where you could have kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, and you have that access to go further out. So you can see why we've said this is an access project for the shoreline in addition to protecting the beach erosion and replacement of sand. It has all kinds of good features to it. So that concludes the presentation I have for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions? Is the boat ramp going to be on the pier side of the groin wall or the other side of the groin wall? The
So
boat ramp.
it's on the pier side of the groin wall. It's there right now. We're using the features. When we're getting the permits, we're not trying to change the locations. We're altering the length and also maybe the angle of the groin wall. But it's a little tricky getting all the permits from all the resource agencies. So, and for the mitigation, just like they're asking us, when we went out there during emergency efforts to protect our seawall that was there, we dumped some revetment rock over, and that worked very well for us. They're telling us now, even though that we're putting sand on the top, that's a fill and we want that out of there. So all of those pieces are mitigation for us to be able to get this project through the permit agencies.
When it's all done, will, you know, the fencing or the railing that's there now along the seawall, will that be gone?
So it'll look a lot more like Middle Beach. That doesn't need to be there. We put that there because we actually had somebody fall off. So, and it was, just getting in a worse condition. So that's when we made a decision that it needed to be further along there. That was a temporary rail. We thought we'd be done with this before that.
Yeah, so just to continue sort of the staff report. So staff did not identify any particular issue items related to this project. The site is zoned resort recreation high density. The intent is to have public and private recreational facilities, accessible to both residents and visitors in this area. The project meets all of the findings related to a site plan review and our consistency with the annual growth policy, since the project operation does not include the use of any water. The SCE did not have to issue a water allocation for this project. Usually, we also are preparing projects with a coastal development permit finding. However, in this case, because the project has components that are both landward or seaward of the mean high tide line, so going out into the harbor, there's essentially joint jurisdiction here between the city, who has its own local coastal program, and the California Coastal Commission. So because there's this joint jurisdiction, rather than process potentially two separate coastal development permits, the city has decided to defer to the Coastal Commission to process the CDP for this project. So a condition of approval of the project would be that, any conditions of approval that the Coastal Commission would impose as part of their review process would be incorporated by reference into the ultimate approval of this project. Public Works has already been engaging with the Coastal Commission long before now regarding the project. So they are already expecting kind of what the scope of work is going to be and are ready to help move the project forward once they've gotten through the city review process. The project is also subject to approval of a mitigated negative declaration under CEQA. So the project did essentially, because of its scope of work, because of the potential for impacts to especially marine and cultural resources, did not qualify for an exemption from CEQA, and thus the mitigated negative declaration was prepared. As part of that process, the study looked at the potential impacts to a number of different environmental components of the project: biological, air quality, cultural resources, and identified that mitigation would be required for biological and cultural resources to reduce potential project impacts to what's called a not significant level. The environmental document was also circulated for public review to responsible agencies. Public agencies back in October of November of last year. We did receive, the city received comments from both the California Coastal Commission and California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and their comments were addressed as part of the preparation of the final mitigated negative declaration document, which is what's up for consideration today. It's the opinion of the city that the document has been prepared in compliance with all of the requirements of CEQA. Part of the attachment to the recommended resolution of approval includes the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which includes all of that mitigation related to biological and cultural resources. For biological, it's mostly doing, surveys and, undertaking work in a way that will not disrupt the marine environment in the harbor in terms of, fish, coral, all the vegetation, wildlife in the harbor. The cultural resources mitigation measures really focus on having, there'll be tribal monitoring that's required during ground disturbance and construction of the project, mostly related to the landward, the seawall. During the preparation of the document, we did reach out to tribal governments that had requested consultation as part of the preparation of environmental documents. There are two agencies, the San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, or the Tongva tribe, as most people know them as, and the Gabrielino tribe Keech Nation. Neither of them particularly responded, so based on city's standing policy related to tribal cultural resources, the city will work to engage a tribal monitor who has Gabrielino or Tongva descent to undertake that monitoring. And it's the same that has been done for the Five Corners project and other city CIP projects. That said, staff is recommending approval of resolution number PC 2550, which would be the approval of the site plan and mitigated negative declaration. I'm also available for any questions you might have on the planning side of things. So thank you.
As I had a question about the delivering of the sand. Are we voting on that? Or how does that work? I was just curious.
So the mitigated negative declaration included the option for it's an either or. So as Bob described, the preferred option would be to deliver by barge because that creates the least amount of disturbance to the community. But the truck traffic or the truck delivery option was also analyzed as part of the MND. So Public Works will have their choice of either or depending on what makes the most sense at the time the project's actually goes for construction.
To help us have a successful project, it's best to have our options open. And that becomes for pricing, time of year, whatever fits. We're trying to get the best value, the best project, and the least impact when we think about all those things when we do that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Bob. Did you consider dredging as part of this mitigation process?
Yes, we did. And when we talked, we did some pricing, and we also had some discussions with the resource agencies. We thought the impacts would be greater. Okay, so that's why we went to the import version or alternative.
Right. But the movement of sand has impacted the harbor and its, the depth throughout that, I don't know, first two mooring rows or so. Yes, and if in the future we need to address that, we can address with a dredging project at that time to be able to get what we need done now. This appears to be the most efficient way to be able to get that done. Still, it appears that the harbor will function like it was designed to function, but if we do have that, there may be a dredging project that we need to bring into the harbor and address that.
Stop the effects of the jet boats?
With the new groin wall, what the modeling revealed was that closed loop that I was talking about. So it stops the effect of that groin wall. It pushes it further out, and it doesn't allow that erosion to put it back to the pier. What it actually does is delivers that sand to the South Beach side of the groin wall. It closes the loop, and it's that 100-foot length on that angle that creates that closed loop. So it should, that's why I'm saying, should help fix that problem that we have by Joe's Rent-A-Boat there. Hopefully we bring some of that sand back with the
It might come back, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what at least our the PhDs, they're out there studying and modeling us, is telling us this could happen. But we may have a dredging project in the future if it doesn't occur that way. This is a best guess, I guess, okay? But it has some science backing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Bob,
just-
just to follow up on Bob's point, I mean, the reason the cost was so high on the dredging, if we're going to bring it up and use it as beach sand, was because the testing requirements and boring and everything that we would have had to have done before you can even dredge that sand back. I mean, that was a big,
Well, I don't know that I was even considering putting it back on the beach. I was just considering, you know, that as the water gets shallower in the center, in basically the throat of the harbor, as that water gets shallower, every storm action that we get is magnified because of the water depth. So, that, you know, that
yeah.
eventually we're going to have to dredge the harbor to get rid of that action anyway, so it doesn't take the pier out.
Okay?
Did I miss the timeline on this? Do you have a timeline or when this is going to happen? Or you
We'll
still-
be ready to go with the permits probably 2 months from now. That would complete the package. You notice it's outside the time that I say, you know, I need 4 to 6 months. It would be at that point where you almost had 4 months left if we got funded right away with this. So we proved that we can do things quickly when we did the Green Pier this last year, but we would need to know very soon if we did get that funding. Otherwise, it would likely go into another season. And it really is dependent on funding.
Right, and that's the urgency in this action is because October 30th is the deadline for us to get our application filed, which requires this step. And then we'll find out about the funding, and hopefully if we get it, we'll let you know.
Yeah,
And
we were very far along in developing the project because we were anticipating if we had to fund it just locally here. But any grant opportunity comes up, we're digging in and going for it.
Bob or staff? No? I have to open a public hearing, so open a public hearing. Would anyone like to come up and talk about this or ask any questions? Nobody at this time wants to talk, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Any more questions or comments? And then I'll call for a vote. No, a motion. Okay. A motion.
How about, I'll move to adopt resolution number PC 25-50, approving the site plan and adopting an additional study mitigated negative declaration, SCH number 2024101329, and mitigation monitoring, et cetera, as attached, including attachment 1, PC 2885. For the project.
Second.
Call for a vote?
Chair Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Correll,
Yes.
Commissioner Hayward,
Yes.
Commissioner Romero.
Aye.
Bob, thank you for moving this along, bud.
Thank you, Bob. On to agenda item number 2.
Can I just ask the members to pull their microphones a little closer? I noticed that some of the red is not turning on, so thank you. We're not picking up everything.
Yeah, can we
Thank-
pull up the presentation, the other presentation?
Agenda item number 2.
Jamie has to do it.
So before we get started on the next agenda item, I just kind of wanted to make a brief informational item that's going to be relevant to the rest of our agenda. So the rest of the agenda items this evening are transient rental license applications. So this is the first time that the commission has seen a TRL application since the moratorium was enacted in 2023. These are the first applications that are being processed under the kind of updated regulations. One item that I just wanted to provide some brief clarification on, because I know that it's something that there was a lot of confusion on under the old regulations, was the idea of like saturation, or what qualifies as an adjacent property for the purposes of analysis under the TRL findings. So as part of the updates to the regulations, City Council did not provide any kind of new saturation limits in terms of like percentages or setting up like neighborhoods or community limits for license types. They had opted to essentially provide a citywide cap on the number of new licenses. So on your screen is essentially for the finding related to what we did do was we refined the finding related to looking at, which is kind of gets at saturation but isn't specifically, is, you know, one of the findings you have to make is whether you feel like the granting of the license would have an impact on year-round residents located adjacent to the application property. And adjacent specifically means you have a common property line with the proposed transient rental unit. Excepting, meaning like we would ignore like roadways and alleys. So if you're directly, you know, in front of, behind, or side to side are the units that you're supposed to consider as part of your impact. And whether the granting of the license would mean that one of those 4 or more, I'm thinking, you know, a simple box, perpendicular box, adjacent properties would now have more than essentially a majority of the surrounding properties to that property now being transient rentals. So with the idea of trying to make this analysis on this finding easier for the commission and for the public, all of the staff reports for transient rentals moving forward will include what's attachment 2, which is a vicinity map that identifies the location of the proposed transient rental and will give you information about whether surrounding property, adjacent properties, are currently licensed for a short-term rental, whether that's a TRL, a CUP, or grandfathered, or whether they are not. And when it's relevant to the analysis, whether those surrounding properties we know are being used for year-round rental or they are not. One note will be how to handle this in communities that have condominiums, since obviously that's a little bit different in terms of like there's a master parcel and then you have airspace, you know, rights for individual units. So for instance, tonight we have 2 properties that are in the Hamilton Cove condominium area. So in the cases where we have condominium buildings, staff will, you know, in conformance with the idea of adjacency as defined in the code, is going to be giving you information essentially on units as much as we can adjacent to the proposed project. So on the screen right now is the attachment for the next item, which identifies sort of where the unit is and gives you information on the units in the building in terms of who has a short-term rental license and who doesn't. So I just want to give a little information up front, just so that as I pull up these figures as we go through the items, we have an idea of sort of what we're looking at. Because that was, again, I know a point that came up quite a bit in the processing of licenses previously before the commission. Yes?
Silly question, maybe. On this one, 61, is 64 adjacent if it's on the diagonal?
So in
Or
this,
is that on a different level anyway?
it's on a different level. In the case of the buildings like this one, we just went ahead and provided what we knew about all of the units in the building.
Yeah. Okay.
Because especially in Hamilton Cove, the way units relate to each other on different levels is not always straightforward. Because they tear down the hillside. But strictly for the purposes of looking at this figure, what we would consider adjacent would be the unit right above, 65, 57 below, and 62 and 60 to either side. But again, once we're providing you that much information for something like a condo building, we might as well go ahead and a figure like this helps you understand where it falls within the building as a whole. So with that said, I'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 2, which is the public hearing to consider a transient rental license and a coastal development permit to allow the renting or leasing of a room or rooms for a period of fewer than 30 consecutive days duration at 61 Camino de Flores. I'll go ahead and note that the applicant for this item is participating via Zoom. So they will be count as in attendance for the meeting for the purposes of the processing of this application.
Is he on?
He is. So, sorry, I think I've got two that are stuck together. The applicant for this project, we're doing 61 first, right? Yes. Is, for 61?
Steve Hall.
Oh, I have it wrong in the report then. The proposed short-term rental is for a one-bedroom, one-bathroom, single-family residential condominium unit in Hamilton Cove. The residence is on a single level and it has a shared balcony with the units directly side to side, 62 and 60 Camino de Flores. The residence is approximately 775 square feet. Based on the size of the unit and the number of bedrooms, the maximum occupancy of this unit would be 4 individuals for a transient rental license. And in this case, the entirety of the unit is proposed to be held out as a single rental. Staff did not identify any particular issue items related to this project, but because this is in terms of needing any additional conditions beyond the standard conditions of approval that are required for transient rental in order to ensure that the project will not create a nuisance for adjacent properties. Since this is kind of one of the first ones we'll do, I'll go ahead and just kind of go through what some of those findings are. So one of the things staff has to look at is, whether there are conditions related to the property that might cause a nuisance concern for adjacent neighbors. As part of the review of each application, including this one, staff, building department conducted an inspection of the property to ensure that they have no code deficiencies related to health and safety, or any repairs or other things that needed to be addressed prior to the safe leasing of the property. So this property did pass the inspection, and staff did not identify any issues that would require the property, that would prevent the property from being used as a transient rental. Staff also provided information in the findings, for your consideration on whether the existing property owner owns any other transient rentals in the city. In this case, this would be the only transient rental that the property owner owns. The property is currently being used as an owner-occupied residence. If the transient rental were granted, the intent would be that they would utilize the property part-time and then hold it out as a short-term rental part-time. Staff has provided information in attachment 2 for the consideration of the commission related to adjacent properties. In this case, all adjacent properties in this building, which is building number 1 in Hamilton Cove, are already licensed for short-term rentals in one way or another. The applicant is as I mentioned, is in attendance this evening at the public hearing remotely, so they are available for any questions that you might have. The applicant and the property also currently do not have any code enforcement action or in good standing with all other city kind of programs and permit processes. The applicant property has also received approval from the Hamilton Cove Homeowners Association to be rented transiently so long as they acquire all of the necessary permits and licenses from the city. Standard conditions of approval would be applied to the project, and these are standard conditions that are defined in the municipal code that will require that the property receive a business license, that the property owner must have an on-island property manager and representative and a 24-hour contact, which also must have their own business licenses with the city. The applicant would also have to comply with all the city's noise ordinance regulations. And there is an additional condition that areas like outdoor balconies cannot be used between the hours, I think it's 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. daily. So that is a standard condition that is applied to the And again, the maximum occupancy. So based on this is a one-bedroom unit, the maximum occupancy for transient rental purposes would be 4 individuals. Based on the information in the application, staff is recommending approval of the transient rental license and the associated coastal development permit for this project. I'm available for any questions you might have, and again, the applicant is available with us this evening via Zoom for your questions as well. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Anybody? No? Okay. Open the public hearing. Anyone like to talk about this project? Steve, you can talk now if you want to.
Yeah, no, just I appreciate all the work you guys have done. You know, I've waited patiently, but I understand why, and I do appreciate the work and the time you guys are putting into making sure to have all bases covered. I've been at Hamilton for about 30 years, have been living out there the whole time, so this will be my first go at the rental, but it will provide me some good opportunities for traveling. And like I think you see, Hamilton has its own kind of security system that will probably keep me in check as well. So I think I understand the process I'm going through, and like I say, I appreciate the work you guys do to make it maybe happen for me.
I have a question. Steve, you put down the contact on island would be you. If you're renting it, will you be on island?
Yeah, at this point, I think I'm pursuing somebody to manage the property for me since I'm new at this, and so I already have somebody who I think has just applied himself for his business license to provide, that work for me. So I think that's where I'm going on that. So that will preclude me from having to be on the island, if I understand it right. So I'll turn over the property to be managed by a local person who's now getting into that business himself.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Steve? Okay, thank you, Steve.
You bet,
Close
thank
the
you.
public. Any questions, comments, a motion?
Make a motion.
Attaboy.
So I move that we find this project exempt from California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301 under Class 1 of CEQA guidelines because it has no potential to have significant impact on the environment, and that we adopt Resolution PC 2554 approving the transient rental license and coastal development permit pursuant to PC 2892, Attachment 1.
I will second it.
Okay. Call for vote?
Chair Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Correll,
Yes.
Commissioner Hewitt,
Yes?
Commissioner Romero. We're unanimous, Scott, all ayes, and then we have 2 absent.
Item number 3?
So item number 3 this evening is a public hearing to consider a transient rental license and a coastal development permit to allow the renting or leasing of a room or rooms for a period of fewer than 30 consecutive days duration at 46 Playa Azul. So this property is also located in the condominium area of Hamilton Cove in what's kind of known as Building 13. The applicant, Damian Salerno, proposes to short-term rent a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, single-family condominium unit. The residence is on a single level and an interior space which has a shared balcony with the 2 units on the same level adjacent to the property. The entire residence would be offered as a single transient rental unit. The residence is approximately 1,403 square feet in size, and based on the bedroom count, the maximum occupancy of the unit would be 6 individuals, as set forth in the standard condition in the municipal code. This project is very similar to the previously approved project that you just heard, in that it is located in the condominium area of Hamilton Cove. Adjacent properties, I think the map isn't coming up for some reason. The approval of the project would not result in adjacent properties, any adjacent unit now having a majority of the units around it be a transient rental. The applicant is in attendance at the public hearing this evening remotely via Zoom for your questions. Standard conditions of approval would be applicable to the proposed project. The staff is not recommending any additional special conditions for this project. Again, they would have to comply with all of the occupancy, noise ordinance, use of the balcony. They will be offering a golf cart as part of the rental, so in order people to access the main part of town. And the property owner, this would be their only short-term rental within the city. They do not have any current code violations, and they are in good standing related to permits and licenses with the city at this time. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the proposed transient rental license for this property, subject to the findings and the conditions of approval in resolution number PC 25-53. Thank you.
Questions for staff? No? Open the public hearing. Anyone like to speak on this property? Damien, you can speak if you'd like now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Again, just like Steve mentioned, it's been a long process. I inherited this property from my parents, and I'm happy to keep it with our family, and this is the only way to keep it going. I think I missed the deadline by a month, so it's been a long waiting period, but I understand, like Steve said, I understand why we're doing it, and just to get a hold on everything and make sure everything's copacetic there. So thank you for everything that you guys have done.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Damien? Close the public hearing. Motion or comments or questions? Does he have a person to?
Yeah, so moving forward, we're probably going to, as we're processing the rest of the applications, we're going to be a little more proactive about asking folks, what their intent is in terms of like if they have an idea of how they would like to establish their on-island contact and management. It's not something that is listed as something for consideration as part of the findings to approve the project, but obviously they will need to provide a compliant, on-island contact manager as part of the actually getting the business license with the finance department. So they will not be actually issued a license to be able to commence short-term rental until they have all of that in place.
Okay, thank you.
So it's a condition of approval.
It is a condition of approval.
Okay.
They have to do it. But I think for moving forward, we might ask people if they have an idea to share that as part of the application, just so you're kind of aware of where they might be going.
And just what we're finding is that the application process, until they've been approved, they haven't engaged or entered a contract with somebody till they know they're going to actually be approved. So we've seen an influx of individuals filing business license to be on-island managers. So we know it's happening, but until they file their business license, they're waiting to see what happens here first. So.
Motion?
Try to do this one with feeling. I make a motion to find this project exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15301 because it has no potential to have a significant impact on the environment, and adopt resolution PC 2553 approving a transient rental license and coastal development permit pursuant to PC 2891.
Second.
Call for a vote?
Chair Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hager,
Yes.
Commissioner Carell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hewitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Rivera.
Aye.
We have all ayes, Scott, and 2 absent. Item number 4.
So item number 4 this evening is the public hearing to consider a transient rental license and a coastal development permit to allow renting or leasing of room or rooms for a period of fewer than 30 consecutive days. Duration at 204 Mar de Cortez. So this property is one of the larger villas. It's located in the villa area of Hamilton Cove. The applicant, Les Blake, proposes to short-term rent the 7-bedroom, 8-bathroom, single-family residence. The entire residence would be offered as a single short-term rental. The residence is spread out over 4 levels with 2 kitchens, 3 outdoor decks, a game room, and a personal theater. The residence is approximately 7,457 square feet in size. Based on the number of bedrooms, the standard maximum occupancy would be 16 individuals based on the bedroom count. Staff did identify kind of 2 issue items for discussion before the Planning Commission. One of them is the fact that there are multiple exterior decks on this property. So as I mentioned, there are 3 exterior decks that will be accessible to transient renters. Exterior decks are common in Hamilton Cove, given you're trying to take advantage of your location and views towards the coastline. But nuisance noise is a concern in any residential part of the city, including Hamilton Cove. The property is located within Noise District 2 rental occupancy. So again, based on the bedroom count, there could be up to 16 individuals that would be allowed at a time as part of the licensing limitations that are set forth as the standard condition of approval. This is a large number of individuals compared to your standard single-family residential rental. However, the residence itself is also much larger than your standard single-family residential rental within the city, being over 7,000 square feet in size. Project as being consistent with the area and to ensure that the presence of the rental does not adversely impact surrounding residential uses. Staff is recommending approval of the proposed project with the findings and the conditions in the attached resolution. This will be the only single-family short-term rental that would be owned by the property owner. The property owner is in attendance today in the audience and is available for any questions that you might have. The property itself does not have any existing code enforcement issues or and is in good standing with all city licenses and permits. They have received approval from the Homeowners Association to operate as a short-term rental as long as they get approval from the city. They will be offering a golf cart for the rental as well. And I didn't mention this previously, but it's true for all the ones you've heard so far. There has been no evidence that the subject property has been rented as a long-term rental within the last 2 years as well. So they are in compliance with that as well. Staff did receive three letters of opposition to the proposed project prior to the public hearing this evening. Those were all provided to you either in your packet or at the dais prior to the beginning of the meeting. And those will be noted as part of the findings in the resolution regardless of the decision that you make this evening. I am available for any questions, and as I said, the applicant is here as well. Thank you.
So 2 of these letters say that there's a CUP at 208. Is there at 208 as well?
There very well may be, but again, based on for the analysis for this project, we only looked at properties that meet the definition for adjacency to the unit. So attachment 2 for this one identified that there's only 206 Mar de Cortez, which is next door, is currently licensed for short-term rental use. But all other properties that meet that adjacency definition are vacant lots currently.
Staff?
16 people kind of seem like a party in one area, regardless of the size. It just seems like a lot of people in one house. At one time. Just seems like a lot of people. And then one golf cart, you know, according to one of these letters, they say that all those houses have 2 golf carts.
How did they get 2?
Yeah, I don't know, but the letters say that.
You don't know?
The letters say that, but we have no verification that that is or isn't accurate, so.
I mean, we do know that happens.
It happens in the flats, too.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, we know
Yeah, it
this happens.
But, I mean, we try to stay on top of it, but
But I was just kind of curious to have 16 people in one little 6-seater golf cart.
Yeah. Pursuant to the city's vehicle regulations, a single-family residence is only allowed to have 1 auto ed permit. So, yeah, it's,
Interesting that they say they all have 2, though. I wonder how they got around that. Okay, anybody else? Open the public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this property today?
I can see mine. I'm Les Blake, I'm the property owner.
Up to the
Les,
podium.
could you stand up, come up to the podium?
Since I'm the first live person about the residentials, so I had Mike build the property for me. When he built it, we were actually not planning on renting it. It's something for the family in the future, for my kids. So far as of today, I've never rented the house out to anybody. But what Mike said when he built the house was the top story, the top kitchen was gonna be my main residence. I wasn't gonna allow anyone to stay there. And so we basically made 2 different kitchens, 2 different houses. So we were only gonna rent out the bottom part, not the top part. So if you guys wanted to restrict it to say 10 people or something like that, we'd be willing to do that. But, you know, we're only renting out the bottom part.
So how many bedrooms? It says 7, so how many bedrooms is that?
The top part has 1 bedroom. It's more like just a suite. That's my main residence. I'm not gonna allow anyone to stay there. The bottom unit has a movie theater room. It has probably 6 bedrooms. Yeah, 6 bedrooms.
So I just want to clarify that based on city records, the property is a single unit. So there's nothing that prohibit in the transient rental regulations that says that people may only rent out a portion of the home. We do say room or rooms. But just I want to be clear that the property is only 1 unit, not 2.
But if you wanted to do like a restriction on how many people could be in the house, if that was going to be a major issue on me renting a house out that is almost 8,000 square feet that I built, we could do some type of restriction on the house. So we're governed under, we don't want 18 people tearing the house up. It's more of just, something for my kids someday. I hopefully, they can make money on it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm retired, sold my company, and I really enjoy Catalina Island. I brought my best friend Eric so he can get his license to be a resident for me, to watch out over the property. And, that's pretty much it.
So Planning Commission could put that restriction on, based on your concern, and the applicant has indicated that 10 seems to be a reasonable number, which is still large, but still underneath the potential possible, so.
Does that seem to be an issue with also with the people?
Right.
16 is apart.
Is it 16 adults or children counted as adults?
It's
Just
individuals, period. So
people.
children are
16
counted as
people.
part of, 16 people.
Yeah, and, we have our friends come see us, and we've had 16 people in the house before.
Dude, I come from a huge family, and when I hear this, all I hear is me and 2 of my brothers and their kids getting together. It's not
Yeah.
a frat party, it's just me with my siblings and my nieces and nephews.
Yeah, and the family. Exactly.
That's why I'm asking,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
We just have 1 golf cart, by the way.
How long has your house been there, built, ready for you to live
It's
in?
kind of been, I don't want to speak about Mike, but it's kind of took about 4 years to get done, to get built.
But it's been ready for how long? How long have you been living in it?
It's been ready for 3 years.
Okay,
3 years.
nice.
Any more questions for Les? No. Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions for Eric? Because I wanted to bring him here just because I want him to get his license, because he likes to be everywhere all the time, and he's, really good at answering his phone. And so that's why I chose him to do this job. So I just wanted, to give him a chance to speak, Eric, if you don't have anything to say.
I'm on call whenever they need it.
Okay. But he's going to have to get his license.
I got it,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to close the public hearing. Any comments, questions,
I got a
motions?
comment. I guess 16 doesn't seem like a lot in a house that large to me. Especially based on, we're kind of a performance-based permitting place now. If they don't do well, it seems like we have the tools to shut it down.
Well, and the reality is if Eric's keeping an eye on it, they're not going to get out of hand anyway.
Yeah, and it's, yeah. And 4 kids, there really aren't a lot of opportunities to get a big house on the island. So, and we just did that in Hawaii last week, so I see why, or not last week, a couple of months ago. And it was nice to have a big place available
Have your whole
for the whole
family.
family. And as kids start coming in, that number is going to go up fast. So,
I was just thinking of the
yeah,
homes
I mean, I
as
can
well.
see why it's a
And
scary
I could
number, but
see
to me,
where
it's
it would
not.
be loud.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I have a large family, and if 16 of us are together, you'll hear us, even our normal talking, you will hear us.
But I mean,
It echoes through.
during
that
the right
channel.
hours, that's okay. You're here in Catalina to talk, to embrace your
10
family,
o'clock
but
at- I
after,
mean,
but it says that they can't be outside, excuse me. It does say in here, right, that they can't be outside on the common balcony after a certain hour, so they don't have to be hush.
Doors,
I
windows.
understand, I have a lot of respect for Miss Kate Rudden and taking her time on these that she gives us. I really do have a big respect for that. And I'm usually one real skeptical on the TRLs, and I was real worried about saturation, and I was very grateful for the moratorium and all of that. But in all honesty, looking at this, I can't help but I think it needs an approval, because Eric's on the case. They're following everything, and it's not like we're saying, yeah, you guys can be outside until 10 o'clock at night with all 16 people. Once the doors are closed, it's Hamilton Cove. It's built nicely. They're not even next to, they're their own unit. They're not even, I don't know. I'm ready to take a vote.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this TRL.
Okay. Do we have a second or any other?
I'll second it again.
Okay, call for a vote?
Chair Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Corral.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we make a new motion to approve exactly as based on the resolution number?
Right here. I'd like to make a motion to find the project exempt from the from CEQA pursuant to section 15301 under class 1 of the CEQA guidelines, because it has no potential to have any significant effect on the environment, and adopt resolution number PC 25-51 approving a TRL and coastal development permit to PC number 2889.
Second?
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, now call for a vote?
Chair Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Corral.
No to 16 people.
Commissioner Hewitt
Yes.
and Commissioner Romero.
Yes.
Okay, Scott, we have 4 yeses, 1 no. The motion passes.
Agenda number 5?
Our final item this evening is a public hearing consider a transient rental license and coastal development permit to allow renting or leasing of a room or rooms for a period of fewer than 30 consecutive days duration at 326 Descanso Avenue. The applicants, Joseph and Barbara Tucker, proposed a short-term rent, a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, single-family residence located on Descanso Avenue in the Flats. The residence has 2 bedrooms and a kitchen on the first floor, 1 bedroom on the second floor, and does have an open roof deck. The entire residence would be rented as a single unit. The maximum occupancy of the unit would be 8 individuals based on the bedroom count of the unit. And the residence itself is approximately 1,416 square feet in size. Staff did identify one issue item for discussion regarding the project, and that is the use of the roof deck on the property. So similar to the previous item, the subject property has an existing unenclosed roof deck, which would be accessible to transient renters. While roof decks are increasingly common in the flats, nuisance noise is a concern in the neighborhood as well, given the acoustics of the flats and how sound can carry. The property is located in Noise District 1, which is characterized as a residential area. Standard requirements under the noise ordinance prohibits operation of sound amplifying equipment outdoors between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. That would be audible past the property line. In addition, standard condition number 8 of the transient rental license, as we previously mentioned, prohibits the use of unenclosed balconies and patios between the hours of 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. every day. Therefore, it is the opinion of staff that the existing regulations and standard conditions adequately address potential nuisance noise concerns related to the roof deck, and that no additional special conditions are required in order to meet the findings for a transient rental license. So regarding this property, the applicant is in the audience this evening and available for questions of the planning commissioners. We've done so many of these.
We're not opening it for the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
Just couple more minutes.
He's ready.
This would be the only short-term rental that the property owners would operate within the city. Standard conditions of approval have been recommended for the proposed project. Regarding adjacent properties, attachment 2 of the staff report shows that properties kind of to the left, right, and rear of the property already are licensed short-term rentals. The property across Descanso Avenue is not a short-term rental currently. However, approval of the proposed project would still mean that less than a majority of surrounding properties to that unit would be short-term rentals, because all the units on the other 3 sides of that one across the street are not licensed as short-term rentals at this time. This property is not in a homeowners association, so that was not a consideration as part of a finding of fact for the project. No comment letters were received prior to the public hearing this evening regarding this particular property. The property and the property owner are in otherwise good standing with the city related to code enforcement, permits, and licenses. Pardon me. Staff is recommending approval of the proposed transient rental license with standard conditions. Pardon me. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for staff? No? Okay. We're going to open up the public hearing. If you'd like to talk now, you can. Please state your name and address, please.
Joseph Tucker. The address here is 326 Descanso. My dad bought the house in 1972, remodeled it in 1982. It's been a family house for all those years, and this is an opportunity for us to defer some of the expenses and keep it in the family. It's a simple house in the flats. We don't have a golf cart to offer anyone. I didn't know about the deck issue. Actually, the plan is for me to be a host when we have guests and stay at the house. And our intention was never to allow anyone on the roof. So, any questions?
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions, motions?
I'll make a motion to find this project exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section, is that what I'm supposed to be reading?
Yes.
Let's see, pursuant to section 15301 under class 1 of the CEQA guidelines because it has no potential to have a significant effect on the environment, and to adopt resolution number PC 25-52 approving a transient rental license and coastal development permit pursuant to PC number 2890.
Second?
Full swing. I'll second it.
Call for a vote? Yes.
Vice Chair Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Correll,
Yes.
Commissioner Hewitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Romero.
Aye.
All ayes, Scott, and 2 absent.
I'm trying to find my minutes. Do we have any other business?
So I just want to say that we are planning to have the regularly scheduled meeting in November. So please plan to attend if you are able. It's the week before Thanksgiving, so hopefully it won't be too much of a conflict for everybody. And that meeting will include the next batch of transient rental license applications and potentially some other items, but we're still working out the agenda for next month.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Meeting
Guys.
adjourned.
Go Dodgers.